burning across the Carolinas, and the wind isn't letting up today.
Very active fire, running fire that they're dealing with.
6 months after Helene made landfall, we'll take a closer look at the hurricane's record rainfall.
The amount of water from Helene was historic, both in the amount of rain that fell, but also the rise in river levels.
See the efforts to save Pacific seabirds sickened by toxic algae.
The number of patients that we're getting into care is very high.
And some tips to help shorten your spring allergy symptoms.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Well, good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Emma Withrow. So Seattle's known for getting a lot of rain, but severe thunderstorms are a different story. They're pretty rare, actually, in the Pacific Northwest. That's why the strong to severe storms expected to hit the region this afternoon are so noteworthy. There's even a small risk of tornadoes. Seattle meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell has more.
Heavy rain, certainly. Gusty downbursts of wind between 40 and 60 miles per hour. This does not mean everywhere. It means it is possible here throughout western Washington. Unusually large hail by our standards possible as well. Not our usual pea or gravel-sized hail that we get from spring thunderstorms, but the variety that starts to lean into the sizes of coins, like pennies and dimes. Even some rare quarter-sized hail possible, especially in the Cascade foothills and the South Sound tomorrow. And we will all be seeing quite a lightning show as this big squall line rolls on through. Again, a rare chance for severe thunderstorms here from Seattle all the way through the Willamette Valley because of the chance for the gusty winds, the large hail, plentiful lightning, even a couple of tornadoes possible.
Meantime, much of the west and southwest have been basking in a record heat wave. Phoenix hit 99 degrees yesterday, shattering the old daily record for the second consecutive day. And across California, temperatures were 10 to 20 degrees above average as well. That includes a record 100-degree day in Palm Springs, but this touch of summer isn't going to last long. Below average temperatures are expected to start just tomorrow. Sunday and Monday could be very stormy across the eastern half of the nation. The Storm Prediction Center says a large area from Ohio to Louisiana is all under risk of severe storms, including tornadoes and large hail. The threat then moves east on Monday, putting northern Florida to the mid-Atlantic at risk as well. The forecast could still change, though, so pay close attention to those local meteorologists and keep up to date. Lake effect snow is still showing up in northern Michigan. This time lapse video from Tuesday is from our Traverse City station. Also in the water, there's chunks and sheets of ice floating under the Mackinac Bridge from Lake Michigan all the way into Lake Huron. Stubborn wildfires are still burning and uncontained in North Carolina. The primary focus right now is on 3 separate fires in Polk County, southeast of Asheville. The 2 largest fires have now overlapped and are burning in steep, rugged terrain. At least 11 homes have been destroyed as the fires burn more than 6,000 acres. Red flag warnings are posted from the western part of the state into Georgia as low humidity and wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour keep that fire risk very high.
Everyone is going to tell you that we need more resources on this fire. The winds are extremely high. We had to retreat in here to this tent just so we could do this interview. So that's kind of what our folks are dealing with out in the field right now. Very active fire, running fire that they're dealing with.
There's emergency evacuations in several other nearby counties. There's a state of emergency in South Carolina as the so-called Table Rock Complex fires burned more than 1,000 acres. As of last night, the fire was at 0% containment. There's mandatory evacuation orders in 2 counties, and investigators say 4 teens are accused of starting that fire. Wildfires are also burning on the southern side of Puerto Rico. You can see these heavy plumes of smoke and flames that so far are just affecting under 100 acres, and several people living near the fire zones were forced to evacuate. At last word, the fire has not caused damage to any homes or buildings, but we're going to have to keep you updated on that. And in South Korea, wildfires have caused at least 24 deaths and forced thousands of evacuations. The Korea Forest Service reports rescue operations are currently underway. More than 200 buildings have been destroyed, including an ancient Buddhist temple, According to the government's emergency response center, the wildfires have burned over 43,000 acres since last Friday. 6 months ago today, Hurricane Helene made landfall along Florida's Big Bend. The amount of rain the storm dropped was devastating, and those huge amounts of water became runoff in the northeast Tennessee area. Meteorologist Kit Alexander looks at the numbers as well as the improvements experts say are going to help the region better prepare for the next extreme rain event.
The amount of water from Helene was historic, both in the amount of rain that fell, but also the rise in river levels. In western North Carolina, 3-day rain totals ranged between a foot and 2 feet in most areas. Much of the water became runoff in northeast Tennessee. In fact, over 3 days, there was one particular spot in North Carolina that recorded a historic measurement that was off the charts.
I am aware of one location, for example, in North Carolina, in northwestern North Carolina, that over the 3-day span during the event in question measured a little over 31 inches of rain. We're looking at an amount that's double the 1,000-year event. It's just incalculable how rare and disastrous this event was.
When the core of Helene hit on that Friday, all of the tropical downpours went straight to runoff. The Nolichucky River broke an all-time record, reaching almost 34 feet. That is almost 10 feet above the previous record. When a disaster of this magnitude strikes, it's of the utmost importance to have the forecast and observation sites working in conjunction to give the most accurate information on river levels to save lives. However, more rain gauges and river gauges are needed.
What we could have really utilized is mesonet sites where we have real-time measurements occurring in communities and counties that we don't have any data right now.
Now that spring's here, what's the outlook for the season? There's multiple predictions out there, and meteorologist Emily Santum compares a few of them.
Spring weather is slowly trickling in, and we'll be here before you know it. And we have plenty of spring outlooks to choose from. Let's talk about the difference between the Farmer's Almanac and the Old Farmer's Almanac and talk about their outlooks. The Farmer's Almanac was published in 1818. It's forecasted by Caleb Weatherby, which is a pseudonym, so we don't really know who the real forecaster is, over in Dublin, New Hampshire. He uses a formula that involves equations, planets, and tidal activity, including solar activity as well. So here's the spring outlook. Now let's check out the Old Farmer's Almanac. This was established in New Hampshire in 1792, and it's actually the longest running publication in the country. Now, meteorologists Bob Smearback and Brian Thompson, they forecasted the spring 2025 outlook, and here it is right here. It's very different. Now, we know that NOAA also put their outlook out. They're calling for a warm spring ahead for March, April, and May, meteorological spring, and equal chances of either a wetter or drier spring. So you have plenty of outlooks to choose from.
You've probably heard of a solar eclipse, but have you ever heard of solar horns? Depending on where you live, you might be able to see them this weekend. Meteorologist Christina Erie posted about it on TikTok. Take a look.
Saturday, March 29th is going to be another big one for all of my astro lovers out there. Another partial solar eclipse is on the way, but only for some. But today I'm not just talking about the rare partial solar eclipse. I'm talking about something else very special that'll happen only for a few isolated areas in the Northeast. Some in the northeastern United States and eastern Canada have the unique opportunity to see something called solar horns or devil horns close to sunrise. So this is when you see two distinct peaks in that eclipse right around sunrise. It's because of the orientation of the sun, moon, and earth at the time, which is why only a few isolated areas are really able to see it. It looks like that and also like that. It's the right place at the right time kind of thing as well. It's really isolated to Quebec, New Brunswick, and northern Maine. But not to worry, an eclipsed crescent can be seen throughout most of the Northeast as long as you're high up and you've got a good view at a low angle away from light pollution.
Natural disasters due to weather are increasing. The U.S. saw 90 declarations of major disasters last year, nearly doubling the historic average. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says 27 of those disasters caused more than $1 billion in damages. 41% of the U.S. population live in a county where a major disaster was declared in 2024. Many scientists blame climate change as a leading cause of increasing natural disasters. And for all the latest weather news and video, be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us on all your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, toxic algae blooms are spreading across the southern California coast. We're going to show you what it means for local seabirds. And we'll show you why this spring allergy season could be a lot longer than most. We'll be right back.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. It's another seasonable day in the Northeast today, with most of us topping out in the 40s to near 50 degrees. Best chance for nudging the low 50s will be extreme southern New England, northern parts of New Jersey, and extreme southern New York. What's happening here? We have a little disturbance offshore that may clip Cape Cod and the islands this morning. Any morning sun will fade away to some clouds developing. There is the chance for a few pop-up rain and snow showers. Look for full sun to return on Thursday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. We're nice and dry once we get through your Wednesday, and we'll see a little more sunshine as temperatures will be a little bit cooler. Not expecting any real precipitation, except maybe a small passing shower late Thursday night, and into the weekend we'll see those chances going up by Sunday. Temperatures take a bit of a dive. It'll be in the 50s for highs as we move through Wednesday afternoon. Thursday still in the 50s, but after this point we'll see temperatures rising all the way to the 70s by this weekend.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Afternoon high temperatures still a little bit above average for most of us. We have the mid-80s along that I-4 corridor. We have the 70s and low 80s pretty much everywhere to the north of I-10. Then we also have a few areas in the Carolinas hanging out in the 60s and low 70s. We'll see some clouds build in from the west, mostly in Louisiana and parts of Mississippi. Also, Arkansas has the possibility of seeing an isolated shower or two. That chance also will exist for South Florida. This is all going to be a mostly dry setup thanks to that low pressure system shifting off the eastern seaboard.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
While signs of spring include these bluebells in Tennessee, there's plenty of green with a winter-like backdrop on the north side of Mount Shasta. Is this a sunrise, sunset, or something else? It's a wildfire glowing after dark in Arkansas. But this fiery-looking spectacle is a recent sunrise over southwest Virginia.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Toxic algae blooms are spreading across the southern California coast, and the toxic algae has been sickening marine life. Now it's poisoning seabirds. Michelle Gile shows us how Huntington Beach Wildlife Center is scrambling to save all of these birds.
2 pelicans stranded in Dana Point and experiencing seizures have been brought to the hospital at the Wetlands and Wildlife Care Center. Minutes later, another sick bird was delivered from Seal Beach.
The number of patients that we're getting into care is very high, and there are reports of many more that are out there that have yet to be rescued, that may be difficult to get to.
The seabirds have been poisoned by domoic acid. Fish feed on toxic algae that is blooming. Birds and marine mammals become sick after eating the fish, but if they're lucky, they end up here getting treatment.
They'll need IV fluids, they need anti-seizure medication to help them with their seizures, and then lots of fluids to kind of flush that out.
20 of the birds brought in over the last week have died. There have also been cases where rescuers have brought the stranded birds as far as this hospital, only to find out that they didn't survive the car ride. Centers like this one are expecting more animals to be carried in for help as the situation worsens.
So this is a pretty severe case. This is one that, is not out of the woods yet. We don't know whether or not it'll make it. I'm really glad it came into care when it did, because any later and it definitely wouldn't have made it.
Dr. Wood is trying to keep 13 birds alive. She got word Monday afternoon that another 10 with similar symptoms are headed her way.
This allergy season is expected to be a long one. Recent frost-free days have pollen concentrations already rising in much of the country. Medical reporter Liz Bonis shares how to shorten your symptoms when they come on.
Last year, pollen counts became very high by the end of March and stayed that way all the way to November. So if you have a history of asthma or allergies, start your medicines before they get bad, because once all that inflammation develops in your upper respiratory tract, it's hard to cool down.
Dr. Scott Woods of Ohio's TriHealth says start by making an appointment with your primary care doctor to see if you need prescription medications to ease allergy symptoms, such as itchy eyes or a scratchy throat or the postnasal drip, or even breathing trouble, or over-the-counter allergy medicines.
There are topical things for your nose, such as antihistamines and topical steroids. These work very well for mild to moderate symptoms. When you get into moderate or more severe symptoms, you want systemic treatment. So in other words, usually antihistamine tablets, especially the ones that work for 24 hours.
Then he says don't take those medications only on the days where the pollen counts are high and you feel symptoms. Take them daily as directed so you manage symptoms rather than chase them. In addition, you can reduce allergy exposure by keeping your home windows and doors closed, using an air purifier, washing bedding and curtains that may trap allergens, and keeping your pets clean. It's also recommended that you limit time outside and avoid lawn work that stirs up allergens.
I did ask Dr. Woods about the importance of allergy testing. He says if you don't already know your specific allergies, this could be helpful because the best prevention is avoidance of those triggers, and testing can pinpoint the triggers that make you miserable.
One sure sign that winter's ending in Wisconsin's the start of the Great Lakes shipping season. This is also when all of the large boats that spent winter docked in the bay, known as Winter Fleet, get ready to leave and begin moving cargo. Eric Peterson's in Green Bay with more.
Opens right around this time, sometime in the third week of March. Obviously, we had a fairly mild winter. The ice opened up quite a bit. We know that the Sturgeon Bay Ship Canal and the Sturgeon Bay area is pretty much ice-free as of the last couple of weeks.
Door County Maritime Museum Deputy Director Sam Perlman says the Winter Fleet typically lays up at Fincanterre Bay Shipbuilding in Sturgeon Bay. He says the vessels typically undergo maintenance and repairs. On Monday morning, at least 7 ships were spotted at the shipyards.
We talk about the Goliaths of the Great Lakes, the 1,000-footers. There are 13,000-footers on the Great Lakes. 6 of them were built right here in Sturgeon Bay, so it's always a exciting time.
Perlman says Great Lakes shipping complements the area's maritime history and is vital to the region's economy.
Time is absolutely money with these vessels, and the time sitting at the dock is money that they're not spending time out on the waters, bringing cargo to and from the ports of the Great Lakes and making money for their owners. We anticipate that the vessels that are here in Sturgeon Bay will start to leave any day now. In fact, we've seen a couple of them start their engines and have some smoke coming out of their smokestacks. So again, we think that they are pretty close to departing for the summer season.
It's severe weather season, meaning thunderstorms are more common this time of year, but one thing that can prevent the development of storms is something called the cap. To get a better understanding of the cap and how it works, let's take a look at a recent Instagram post from meteorologist Katie Morgan.
Have you ever heard meteorologists say this? Severe storms possible, but if the cap holds, it could prevent storms from developing. What is a cap? Meteorologists use that term all the time, especially in severe weather season. Let's talk about what the cap is and how it affects severe weather development. And nope, not talking about a ball cap. Go Reds. Let's start with the basics. Storms need 3 things to develop: moisture, instability, and lift. And storms will continue to strengthen as long as the air around it is colder, the higher up storms go. Enter the cap. To help explain it, let's use this pot of boiling water. The cap is a warm and stable layer of air that storms will run into above the surface. This can help suppress or delay development of thunderstorms. Think of the steam here as storms that continue to rise. As long as the air around it is colder, they will continue to rise and strengthen until we put the lid on the pot. That is the cap, that relatively warm and stable layer of air. It stops storms from rising. So as long as the lid is on the pot or the warm, stable layer of air is present, steam can't escape the pot and storms can't develop. So now you know one more fact about severe weather development. And as always, root for Team Cap to keep storms from developing.
If you want to learn more about weather, be sure to check us out on social media. We have a lot more content just like this from our team of 200 meteorologists across the country. To find us, just search the National Weather Desk on all your favorite social media platforms and be sure to follow and subscribe. And as we go to the break, shots of the state capitol in St. Paul, Minnesota. We'll be right back.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Michael. Still a few showers kind of draping their way across the Midwest for the day today, but not quite as much rain for us today. We'll be dealing with temperatures on the mild side for a lot of us. The rain picks up a little bit more in intensity there for your Thursday tomorrow. And by Friday, that shifts a little bit closer out to the Ohio Valley. But look at that, getting up to 80s in a few spots.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Temperatures in the 50s and some 60s and pretty humid as you get down into South Texas into the 70s. We'll be watching a little bit of an upper level system heading eastward. That's going to fire up some big showers and thunderstorms back up towards San Antonio. A little bit of some rain up around the Dallas area as well. Temperatures are going to be heating a little bit above the normal. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that is a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a happy Wednesday to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, it's going to be an interesting finish to our day. We're starting with a lot of heat in the deserts, highs eventually back into the 90s around Phoenix, Tucson, and Las Vegas. Meanwhile, severe thunderstorms, very rare for the Pacific Northwest, due in for Seattle and Portland as we head into our Wednesday afternoon. Hail could be an inch in diameter and winds gusting 40 to 60 miles per hour. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
So all thunderstorms have the potential to produce tornadoes, but some are more likely than others. The type of storm that most commonly produces tornadoes is called a supercell storm. Meteorologist Brett Luna explains.
There's four main ingredients, though, that we're going to be looking for: that shear, lift, instability, and moisture. Instability is the fuel for the storms, so the sun is going to heat the earth during the day. That's the fuel. These warm parcels of air, they're going to rise and they'll cool as they go up. Eventually, this moisture is squeezed out, and that's when the clouds form. That's the beginning stage. These clouds can keep on growing, though, and develop a strong updraft and downdraft. This is the mature stage, and then eventually the downdraft is going to dominate that storm, and the storm just starts to die out. But during the mature stage, we can obviously get some very strong and severe thunderstorms that can produce tornadoes, and here's how that happens. So this is where that wind shear that I was talking about earlier comes into play. Wind shear is when we get a change in wind direction between the ground and higher up in the sky. This change in the wind direction with height causes horizontal rotation, and the strong lift in the thunderstorm flips this rotation vertically, and then that's when we finally get that tornado to form.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Emma Withrow. Make it a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.